Hi, this is Marty Gold with a commentary on the 2023 Manitoba provincial election. The first couple of days, once again, having the usual flurry of announcements, pronouncements, and denouncements. Most interestingly, the Stephenson announcement, at least on a sort of a personal level, most things of these things, they raise liquor prices or something or whatever. Like I'm lucky in that I'm very isolated in terms of not needing a lot of government services. Things that affect me are mostly municipal, not so much provincial, but I digress. But I know from personal experience of what's going on in my family that the proposal to eliminate for first-time homebuyers the land transfer tax, which is just a devious device that grew out completely out of control under the NDP, enacted last year or 2 years ago. And whereas Wob Canoe says things like, where do they have all these good ideas at election time? Well, in a way, that is a good question. Some young families might be going, but they're also going to see that the Conservatives are looking at a drop on the income tax rates that could mean $1,900 for people that make under $47,000, which is barely able to maintain a decent middle-class-ish lifestyle. I know the Liberals propose that they want to raise taxes on people making $120,000 a year. That ain't rich. 120 is the new 80. That's where you're comfortable and maybe able to build some wealth. I think that's the wrong level for that. And the NDP again all over the map, and we'll talk about some of those specifics another time. But one thing none of the parties are talking about, I don't know when they will. They may not speak of it until I show up at a press conference. But in my work with the Great Canadian Talk Show podcast, I've been had good fortune to have a few conversations with Andrew Marquess about the manner in which his life evolved, so that he ended up having to sue the city and spend an unbelievable amount of money on lawyers, over $1 million. And the city apparently spent $10 million on lawyers, with Marquess winning a court battle over the way an application for development was treated. And this, I've maintained before, and I'm going to say it again, this is not an issue that the municipal affairs. The province has had a very strange relationship when it comes to municipal affairs with the city of Winnipeg for really, in my mind, and my time around City Hall, there may have been periods where it was, okay and a little functional and a little bit better, but a lot of the time it's just been completely dysfunctional. The province rides Winnipeg's ass because, in part because we're the cash cow, and hasn't really done enough for Winnipeg. But then in the course of trying to, take and not give, they've left too much control in the hands of people that are the hands of people who should not have the power that they have been granted, and who do not know how to wield that power either effectively or, in some cases, according to the Court of King's Bench, legally. Any political party assuming the helm on Broadway is going to have to take a long, hard look, not just at the Andrew Marquess case, but they are going to have to ask questions, have their Attorney General ask questions, Department of Justice, about whether there's other situations where rules were changed arbitrarily, where there was abusive process. And, the province, and this is after 1987 now, like 30 some odd years, 37 years. Let's take a moment to talk about the Hotel Fort Garry and what happened with John Perrin and his family, where they bought it, and the next thing you know, they're being overcharged on taxes by $900,000 a year, back when $1 million meant something. And the appeal process was interpreted by the city that they could put this property on a tax sale, even if the final court determinations had not been concluded about the legality of the bill. If the bill was in the end, it takes 37 years, and Kelvin Gertson, on behalf of the Conservative government, wrote a letter, evidently, to Mr. Parent, the Parent family, apologizing. The province's rules were misinterpreted, which means the province's rules were written so badly that people with ill intentions could ruin somebody's life. And now we see, all the way from the Hotel Fort Garry to Parker Lands, that there's just this consistent weird behavior between the city of Winnipeg officials when they see somebody with a lot of money and a lot of dedication, and there's just something about it they just don't like, or they want to get their piece of the pie, or I don't know what. So all political parties hoping to get your vote, and it's not at the top of the agenda, it's not the most important thing going, but when you've got the kinds of allegations of Government knowing that there's certain practices, they're going to be like the retention pond, they're going to take the land, that they're going to want to have one, even in spite of the fact that the George Elliott report said it wasn't necessary, that it could be avoided, that the drainage could be handled a different way. They just get these ideas in their minds and they march forward. And they do so arbitrarily. They do so capriciously. They do so dishonestly. And also, I'm going to go back to this. The core of one of the things right from the beginning, when John Orlico, the city councilor for River Heights, Fort Garry, when he indicated early on that there's no rush on this, no matter what the developer thinks, because he only wants to make money, right? There's no rush on this, and no open houses before the election, meaning the civic election of 2014. That's election interference. The city councilor telling staff to slow walk something so that something doesn't come up before the election. I'm sorry. There's no defense for that. And it doesn't matter whether I like or don't like John Orlico or like or don't like any other city councilor or anybody else. That is manipulating the public agenda for an election in an inappropriate manner. It made Andrew Marquess's application, now whatever reason, he wouldn't have wanted it in the field and have to answer questions. That's Orlico's business, but I think it's all our business when politicians try to make sure things stay off the burner when the normal timing of events is that things go on certain intervals, things are scheduled at certain intervals, and sometimes there's an election while it's happening or right before, inconveniently. The City of Winnipeg Charter has to be revised to ensure that politicians cannot interfere in the normal pace of proceedings to jockey for political advantage. That's putrid. There's a lot of these practices sound like there's something out of another place. In Quebec, a lot of this used to revolve around brown envelopes and meeting in parking garages. In Winnipeg, I'm not sure what it revolves around. But it has to stop because it's costing us millions. It's exposing the ratepayers to millions upon millions in liability. It's costing us in terms of our tax base. When somebody wants to build a warehouses, like let's say a warehouse in Transcona, was that Amazon? And they were willing to pay the improvements necessary at Ravelstone or the train crossing so that these delivery vehicles would have been, 5 minutes, come up the end of Transcona, come up the connecting road. You're right on Dougald, right on the perimeter highway, and goods are flying to southern Manitoba, southwestern Manitoba, southeastern Manitoba. You get the idea. City officials never even told that city councilor that had been proposed, that they were willing to pay for it. What the hell's going on here? Every time you turn around, and there's an opportunity to develop wealth, to grow jobs, to bring some sense of prestige to our city, other considerations that are inappropriate, as determined by the Court of King's Bench. The application process gets put sideways. Councillors are kept in the dark, or the alternative. Some councillors seem to, because they were committee chairs, had more pull than the councillors that weren't. Because you can bet that if that councillor had been a committee chair, might have found out about Amazon wanting to spend $1 million or $5 in the neighborhood and bring jobs right to a main drag. So political parties should be aware, and you as voters, it's not the top of the agenda. I get that. It's not healthcare. It's not what's going on in schools. It's not cost of it does affect cost of living because this is costing you more for taxes, is making the city less efficient. So it actually is costing you money. So try to keep it in mind. If you encounter at a community event, at a festival, door knocking, you go to a constituency office, try to squeeze in a question or two about what's going on at Winnipeg City Hall. If they say, oh, Mayor Gillingham, nothing against Scott Gillingham, his name hasn't come up, but he was finance chair for a lot of the time this business went on with Marquess. There's some good questions about what he did or didn't know, along with the other councillors. So that's not the easiest excuse. We're going to leave it up to the professionals. Not so fast. Yeah, when was the last time you heard one of them speak up? I think Russ Wyatt actually spoke up and said that one of the liable defendants, Michael Robinson, need to be fired by the city. It's September 6th, 7th, as I record this. And as far as I know, he still hasn't been fired. So leadership has to come from the province. The city is a creation of the province. The province has to reevaluate what the city of Winnipeg is supposed to be doing, what it's all about, and how to protect the citizens, how to protect your wallets, how to protect the taxpayers, how to protect our quality of life. So if you can get any answers out of the Progressive Conservative, NDP, or Liberal candidates, Green Party too, let me know. Send them along, and I'll put them on a future episode here. I'll be back with more information, analysis, news, and opinion about the 2023 Manitoba provincial election for winnipegtribune.ca. And keep in mind that newsrooms like those, like Global, they also benefit from the largesse, the patronage of the federal government. When the media gets controlled by Ottawa, this is the result in Manitoba. Biased, one-sided, non-factual, and garbage. However, here, winnipegtribune.ca, certainly you'll get some information that you'll find useful, some information that will be factual, and some information that may help you decide which way to cast your ballot on October the 3rd. I'll be back with more news, analysis, commentary, and opinion here on winnipegtribune.ca.